There are steps that we can take. First, we do need to prepare kids to navigate online spaces with sufficient racial consciousness and digital literacy skills so they're less likely to fall victim to white nationalist messaging. So this speaks to the question of, what about people who are resistant to social justice work in schools? The fact of the matter is, it is the social justice work in schools that helps kids to understand the racial targeting, helps kids to understand the history, helps kids understand the variety of language they're going to be influenced by, to help them sort of undercut the manipulative messages. So that makes it all the more essential. Now, to do this, we also need to ensure that we have school policies about inclusion and programs that focus on also the social emotional learning, also empathy building, in addition to the diversity and the equity programming. And as we do all of this, we need to be explicit that these programs stand in opposition to manipulative recruitment efforts of hate groups. Nobody wants to be manipulated. So while the kids are being told that it's the adults around them who are manipulating them, we need to actually demonstrate for them the way they are being manipulated. We have to confront this explicitly. Now, there are two different parallel kinds of diversity efforts that we need on campus. On one hand, we do need to continue talking about how unconscious behaviors prevalent within a white dominant culture manifest as in microaggressions and institutionalized racism. I know it's often uncomfortable to focus on that unconscious and widespread, the cultural aspects of white supremacy. I get it. It's what I've been doing for a long time. But we have to do that in order to be prepared and also to combat that overt hate that the kids are getting online. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a time when it was taken for granted that equality and the civil rights movement were good things. And right now we have a lot of people who are questioning this vocally and with very powerful amplification tools. So what does this mean for parents spending a lot of time at home with kids and teens? First, if you are a Twitter user, I strongly suggest that you check this out. If you're not a Twitter user, you might want to get on there just for this one. This is a 25-item thread from Shannon Martinez and Nora Flanagan, and it offers extremely practical and concrete tips. Sharon Martinez is a former white nationalist. Nora Flanagan is a high school teacher and author who is co-author of a Western State Center's toolkit on confronting white nationalism in schools. Extremely practical, concrete tips. You might want to take a screenshot of this as well to go look this up. I learned about this thread while listening to a very recent presentation by a researcher and a school counselor in Washington State who offered some of the following advice. First, keep in mind that the global pandemic is traumatic for a lot of kids. This may exacerbate anxiety or depression. One way teens may deal with their emotions is to act invincible, push against rules and mandates. This could be particularly challenging as the stay-at-home orders continue. Young people may resent not being able to get together with their friends, and they may not be able to participate in the activities that are essential parts of their identity process. They may also be missing or even losing important school or community connections that have supported them emotionally. And all of this is happening while exposure to a lot of overwhelming content continues. So given all of this, what can parents do? Well, since the alt-right and the alt-right content is everywhere, you should not ban access to any particular platform. The platform isn't necessarily the problem. What you want to do instead is be on the lookout for the ideology. Do this by staying connected with your teen. Keep talking to your kid. Ask questions. What games are they playing? Which YouTubers do they follow? Who do they follow on Instagram? Who do they like listening to and why? What about Twitter? What do they think of these particular, posts. I'd suggest listening to the entire Rabbit Hole podcast series with your kids, asking them what they think of the issues raised throughout each episode. Episode 5. Oh my gosh, that is the one that tells the story of PewDiePie's rise to prominence. It may be particularly useful for posing questions about what it means to joke about hate-filled messages and how it normalizes things like Hitler memes. And then it gives you an opportunity to talk about the harm that it causes. Be interested. Try to avoid being judgmental. Make the connection so that your kid becomes a co-conspirator with you. Ferreting out what they're exposed to. Hey, is this one? Yeah, what do you think that means? What are they trying to do here? Become a partner with your teen about this. If you see your kid like an offensive meme on their phone and they claim it's just a joke, ask why they think it's funny. Focus on inviting them to share how they see the world. What do they think about this? How does it make them feel? Also, try to help them stay connected to their friends and the supportive figures in their lives. Strengthening teens' sense of self-identity, their belonging, their connection, their purpose in life, doing that as much as possible is really essential.